Are you in the market for a vinyl style bed cover, but still want to maintain the structural integrity of an aluminum panel cover? Well, look no further than BAK Industries BAKFlip VP tonneau cover. Stay tuned to learn more about this product. All right guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at the BAKFlip VP, and with BAK Industries, we've actually got Chris Fleeman. How you doing, Chris?
Doing awesome, Steven. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us in the garage.
Yes, sir. Guys, with that said, let's go and get this unboxed and show you what comes in the kit. All right, so we have everything unboxed and on the table here, as you can see. Chris, tell us a little bit about what comes in the packaging and a little bit about the cover as well.
Actually, we're going to start with this red bolt kit here. This has all your installation hardware, your clamps, your drain tubes, all that good stuff is in this red bag here. We have our rails here. These are what's going to hold the cover to the truck. And you know what? We got the most important part right here. We got the cover itself.
All right, so Chris, tell us a little bit more about what makes the VP the VP.
Well, Steven, the VP is BAK Industries inter-level cover. The great thing about it is you still get the strength of a hard cover, but when you close this thing, you actually get a vinyl overlay. So there's no exposed hinges, no exposed seams, just a good clean look. Now, hey, we're getting about ready to install this thing. Let's gather up our tools. This is it.
Nice.
9/16 and a Phillips head screwdriver.
All right guys, so before you do the installation, what you're going to want to do is prep the bulkhead for the bulkhead seal. Now in this case, we have a spray and bed liner, so something like rubbing alcohol or acetone may not be necessary. So just make sure that it's wiped down good. Make sure all the dust, things like that, and debris are cleaned off of the bulkhead. When you've done that, and when you're satisfied with your job that you've done, we're going to go ahead and get started with the bulkhead seal. Chris, are there any things we should know before we get started with this installation?
A few quick tips, Steven. The biggest thing is this truck now has bed caps on it from the factory. If you have an older model that has the painted surfaces up here, you just want to make sure that you get the seal come all the way out to the edge of those. Also, if you had an over-the-rail bed liner or a different type of bulkhead cap, we would supply a thinner seal with that as well.
Okay.
To use in those applications there.
Okay guys, so the bulkhead seal has been applied, and we're going to move on to the rails now. Chris, before we get to the rails, are there any tricks that we should know, anything you want us to know before we get this underway?
I'd like to point out a couple key features to our rail system. The most important thing here is this little right angle here.
Okay.
This actually sits up on the rail of your truck, like so. So this actually will let the clamp transfer the weight to the bed of the truck. Some of the other guys out there are dependent on their clamps only, but we transfer that weight to the truck, what allows us to have a really high weight capacity on our covers.
All right, Chris, so I'm getting ready to install the clamps. What else do I need to know before I get that started?
One quick thing, on the Dodge Ram, you want to make sure this rail goes all the way forward. We have a little bumper pad here.
Okay.
We want to go all the way forward to the bed of the truck. Then we want to install the first clamp. You want to go as far forward as you can up to about the edge of that stake pocket right there. So somewhere right in that area there. Make sure you get your good bite on your clamp and go all the way up.
And I'm just hand tightening this for now, is that right?
Yeah, at this moment you're hand tightening it. You may want to do a couple turns on your wrench.
Okay.
But not all the way down. I'll show you why in just a minute. Steven, if you'll know on this model, the Ram, it's got the new bed light on it.
Okay.
You probably want to just go forward to the light just a little bit so you're not obstructing any of the light.
Okay, that sounds good to me. All right, Chris, I think we have the rails kind of in place. They're hand tight, they're not fully tight. What are the next steps we need to take before we tighten these all the way down?
Well, Steven, the nice thing about our rails having that L that we were talking about earlier,
yep.
At this point now, all you want to do is make sure this seal is good on the outer edge of the truck. So you just kind of take it and you push down on it, give it a nice little pop. Now you're ready to do that final half turn.
Okay. All right, guys, so the passenger side rail has now been secured in place and it's nice and tight. We're going to do the exact same to the other side. All right, the rails are both in place on both sides. Now what we're going to do is feed in the drain tube. So this comes in the package, and on each rail there's going to be a little tube that leads down. We're going to feed this corrugated tube straight to that slot. Before I do that though, I'm going to start feeding it through the factory holes on the ramp here. So we're going to go ahead, and it's going to be different for each application, guys, but feed it through and then attach it to the rail, and then that's all there is to it. We'll do the same for the other side, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Steven, this is a new feature on the BAK Industries products. This is a buckle here. It's time to install it at this point here. We have the little nut certs here that actually just go in from the bottom and the pre-drilled holes. Got one in each side. We just take our screws and our Phillips head, and we tighten these up.
All right, guys, if you look towards the cab of your truck, you're gonna notice this pre-drilled hole, as you can see right there. We're gonna plug this right in, and then we're gonna make sure that it lines up with our rail, which it does. We'll lay it down. The next step is pretty important. What we're gonna do is lift up the cover and use the cover's own weight to give us more access to the threads below. What that's gonna do, this cover's pushing directly on the bolt, which is giving us a little more leverage to work with below here. So we're now gonna put this sandwich, which is the rubber up top, metal in the middle, and then we're gonna do the lock on the bottom. All right, guys, so the elevator bolts have been installed. Now we're gonna lower the cover and check our alignment. All right, guys, so the next thing we're gonna do once everything is in place and installed, what we're gonna do now is protect the investment we have in our truck. And what I mean by that is we're gonna use these cab bumpers. We're gonna install it to the cover. And when this is fully extended and it lies up against the glass, this is gonna protect that glass from any kind of abrasion or anything like that when the cover moves around. So this is what that's gonna be for. Chris, before we get started here, are there any things that we should know before we get these adhered to the cover?
Well, this VP model going on this Dodge truck is pretty straightforward. The first thing you always wanna do is just look and see if you have a picture window or the rear slider. This one being a rear slider, you see up here, it's pretty good, so we're fine with it being flat. Some of them are recessed in this area, so we're just going to want to put the 3 different ones, 2 outer edges, and then put the one in the center. We're going to do it at the top side of the cover right here on this hinge point. Okay. Just prep this surface here, and let's get them put on.
Let's do it. All right, Chris, looks like everything is pretty much done and in place. Tell us a little bit about functionality now.
Well, let's show the first thing here is just how awesome this cover looks. This is the VP. This is a nice, smooth vinyl look. It's no seams, no exposed hinges. It's going to be a great looking cover and give you that no seam look performance that you need. Now, let's go into how it actually works. First thing you do is just open the tailgate. You know, the cool thing about these new ones, they are actually remote control tailgate. So with that tailgate lock, the cover is good and secure. Now once you open the tailgate, it's a very simple pull latch here. You have one from the driver's or the passenger side. And this thing just works as a slam latch. So when you slam it, you just open it up. You have one of these at each panel position here. Now in this position here, we have our new buckles that are integrated into the cover. You just take those and you clip them into your buckle latch. Pull that tight. Now you can actually travel down the road with the cover in this position. But you know, there's a lot of covers that do this, but there's really no other cover that does this. You got this extra panel here that you open it up, and we were talking about giving you back your truck bed. This is what this cover does for you. Not only does it allow you to keep your cargo dry and out of the elements, it also allows you to use your truck why you bought it, right? Now, if you want to travel in this position here, this is very simple. You have this prop rod here that goes into the track. Just push downward on it just a bit, tighten it up. You're good to go. The nice thing about this as well, with this leaning up against the rear of your truck, if you had cargo in here that got dislodged when you slammed on brakes, now this acts like a headache rack. So it's going to help protect that investment you were talking about.
Very good.
Now let's close this cover up. This is the easiest and the funnest part of the whole thing here. To close this here, you just let it close into place. You want to undo your buckle. put it back in the buckle storage. Now the one thing to always remember is you close your tailgate first, then the cover, and if you got your lock, a couple clicks, nice and secure.
Well, that concludes this episode of In the Garage. Thanks again, Chris, for coming out and helping us with this installation.
Steven, thanks for having us in the garage.
Yes, sir, it's always a pleasure. Guys at home, if you want more details on this product, check the description below. We'll have all that information laid out for you there, as well as a dealer locator, so you can find this product at a location near you. Thanks again for tuning in. This has been Total Truck Centers in the Garage.